Welcome everyone, Costini here with a discussion about Oxyotl of the Lizardmen, who has one of the best campaigns in the entirety of Total War Warhammer 3. Even if you don't care much for the Lizardmen, and certainly I am part of that category of players who really couldn't care all that much about them at all, you will certainly find this particular campaign to be a fairly enjoyable one. Even though Lizardmen still have a significant number of issues that will drag down this campaign in terms of its replayability, although replayability in this campaign is going to be an interesting topic because, yes, to be certain, the Lizardmen are not a great race. On the flip side, you do start with two heroes and a pretty powerful starting army that is going to set you up for a very good amount of success later on during your campaign. And there is enormous potential to be had over here, the likes of which you just generally don't see in a campaign in Total War. And this is one of those situations where you can easily say that despite the issues that the race in particular does have, and absolutely does have them, that Oxyotl as a legendary lord not only pushes past those particular issues, but he makes his race excel during a campaign. But what exactly makes Oxyotl such a phenomenally powerful legendary lord? Was the key, if you will, to his campaign success? Well, first off, you have the Sanctums over here. And Sanctums, once you get enough gems, you can see them represented here at the top. Once you fill up these gem slots over here, you can build a Sanctum in any region that has vision. Now, these Sanctums come with a significant number of benefits in the area they're in. So if we look at a Sanctum, you can get one that reduces your recruitment duration by 50% and also reduce global recruitment duration by 2 turns. This basically means that when you're playing a campaign as Oxyotl, you can hop into a region, globally recruit, put this building down and recruit a lot of units globally very quickly. You can increase your replenishment by such an absurd level that it's not even funny. And believe it or not, replenishment is actually one of the issues for Lizardmen because they do not have heroes. I mean, they have heroes to increase replenishment, but it takes tier 3 in order to increase King Chief replenishment. And Lizardmen don't exactly have one of the fastest growing settlements, not because they lack the growth, though it's not necessarily the most exceptional growth in the game, but rather because it takes a lot of turns to actually construct their provincial capitals. You can eventually reduce it, but it does take time. So you being able to get an enormous amount of replenishment, sure, there's only so many buildings. You can only fit 2 buildings and a main one that gives you visibility. But just the sheer ability, and keep in mind, these are not tied to settlements you control. You can put them in regions you do not control. So you can really gain enormous benefits. Income from post-battle loot, reduction of upkeep, Sanctum patrol, ambushing enemies, and a teleportation stone they can really take advantage of, as well as various benefits to your armies in a Sanctum. So, in a Sanctum region. So the benefits here with the Sanctum are absolutely ridiculous. Then you have an upkeep benefit for Skink and Chameleon Skinks in all armies, as well as significant benefits in campaigns, or with those units faction-wide if you're using them. You have every climate in the game being suitable. And you start in the southwestern corner of the map in one of the most secure areas of the campaign map as a whole. So let me just reiterate this point. Oxyotl is ridiculous. Just for those 2 points alone, the Sanctums that you can put down with Sanctum gems and the faction effects, the skink upkeep benefits, the two of them combined are pretty ridiculous. There's nothing stopping you from playing Oxyotl as you would play a regular Lizardman legendary lord where you would get a bunch of SARs usually. There's no stopping you from having a significant amount of diversity in your armies. You can. And because you have significant diversity in climate, you can have a really good campaign with Oxyotl. Those are just some of the upsides that he does have in his campaigns, but it doesn't stop there. No, it's only going to increase from this point onward, and it's going to be pretty ridiculous. So when we look at Oxyotl, if we look at, just the fact that he starts with a hero and gets the Skink Chief after turn 1, He also gets immunity to diplomatic penalties from trespassing. He gets the Masterful Ambush stance. Now, it's a bit annoying with this, admittedly, because he's not really... like, when you're playing Oxyotl, you're not going to ambush. You're not going to give a damn about ambushing anyone. You do get an enormous amount of experience when fighting Forces of the Chaos, and you get armor-piercing missile damage plus 50% for all skink infantry units. So you're looking at these guys... Yeah, they're going to be doing quite a lot more armor piercing and being far more effective in combat because of it. His item isn't necessarily anything special. His combat ability isn't that great, but he does get a lot of unit experience per turn, Sanctum gems per turn. He's getting a lot of corruption benefits, campaign move range, ammunition for skinks, just an enormous amount of benefits. Skink Oracle in every province is whatever, but at least it allows you to recruit them closer to the front line if you're using it. And hey, using greatly reduced chance of being detected while in ambush stance, yeah, you know, being pretty crazy. And also snipe and stock for all skink infantry, all of them. I mean, every single one of them. Now, chameleon skinks are still one of the best to use, though you also got chameleon stalkers who can fire while moving, but these guys are generally the best to use. I mean, they also can fire while moving, don't get me wrong. It's... like, just the sheer power, like, the difference between these two is, like, the range, like, the damage. Like, these guys are a melee infantry with a precursor weapon, basically. These guys are pure ranged infantry. It's like, yeah, Oxyotl is a really strong legendary lord from all of those perspectives. But that's not even all of it. No. If you think that was it with Oxyotl and his ridiculous train that he does have access to in the course of his campaign, you haven't seen anything yet. Oxyotl gets even more ridiculous. But how so? Well, let me just say it like this. When you're playing a campaign as Oxyotl, the sheer strength that you will have access to in your campaign is just, quite frankly, a pretty absurd one. And it's not even funny to think of how absurd it is. Because one of the things you will start getting are the Sanctum missions, the visions of the old ones. You'll start, like, you may notice that I actually got some gold over there. Now, I've obviously dumped it all into this global recruitment, but there was a mission. Your initial faction that you started war with, that Corn faction, gives you a mission to deal with them. That gives you rewards. And then visions of the old ones become available. These are faction-wide, these are missions that you get around the world to deal with the forces of chaos. But the dynamic that you have with them, well, let's just say that you got 10 Sanctums already you can put in any vision with range. Let's just take a look at what happens when you get a mission. When you will get a new mission, like for instance, I got a mission over here to deal with the Hearthstone that was present in the settlement, though this might be a downside because it will allow Ikiclaw to expand in this particular territory. But when you get the new mission, you can teleport to the area. So for instance, over here, I have a mission to hunt an army in this particular location, which I am going to do just very, very simply. So you can show up there, teleport in a territory, keeping in mind the fact that you do not have any kind of trespassing penalty. Yeah, your Autoresolve on your starting dinos is not particularly great. You can show up in the territory, take it over, get a significant amount of power, trade the territory away, and maybe even put up a hidden Sanctum, if you so desire, in a particular area. So let's just say I want to build a Sanctum over here, and maybe I want to get vision over the adjacent provinces. Maybe I want to put a capstone over here that will allow me to eventually teleport back here. If I really wanted to. There's only one you can put down, but still the significance of these things is certainly enormous. Now, one of the other things to also point out, while teleportation was unlimited when Warhammer 3 came out, they did finally decide to cap it at once per turn, because it was kind of ridiculous what Oxyotl was able to do. Like, he could teleport, like he would get the set of missions and he could potentially complete all of them in a single turn. Teleporting does not consume your movement points. Obviously, taking over settlements as I just did does. But if you sack a settlement, well, that's not necessarily a problem. See, Oxyotl is playing basically XCOM over here in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. So you are in a position to earn a lot, to just teleport, beat someone up, get paid for the process, get paid for all your troubles. Because if we, like, it's not going to show the list of missions you've done, but like consider this one. It just has a mission to defeat an army in battle that gives me an effect, a nice effect, some Sanctum gems, which I can use obviously as the Sanctum gems fills up. I can put another hidden Sanctum. And due to that, you just end up with like ridiculous level of power that other factions could only dream of. It's just that simple. Like, this campaign works very well in the early game. It scales up very well in the late game. And it's not because the Lizardmen are such a strong race. You could take these mechanics that Oxyotl has, the teleportation mechanic, the Sanctum and their benefits, the blessed units as well, the rewards you can get from these missions, because a lot of these missions are going to give blessed units. Blessed units aren't regiments of renown, but they are units you can recruit in large numbers for free. They do have upkeep costs, but once you have a unit added to the blessed unit pool, you can recruit them anywhere you want instantly for free. Yeah, that's let's just say that's kind of that's kind of ridiculous situation, I gotta say. Like, absolutely just pretty damn absurd when you think about it. Just the sheer amount of possibilities in this campaign that other factions could only dream of. It is such an absurd, such an absurd campaign in so many ways that you don't necessarily believe. You don't necessarily believe it's actually happening when you're really playing it. And so you go from territory to territory, building up strength, getting a lot of experience along the way, building up massive armies. The absurdity never stops in this particular campaign. It really doesn't. It's such an absurd level of power that very few campaigns can actually genuinely compete against that. Like, how would you compete against this? Like, I would not want to face Oxyotl in a multiplayer situation. Let's put it like that. And with the blessed units being global recruitment and having a lot of missions, you will get a lot of missions for them. It just leads to ridiculous campaign situations. You're in a safe area. The only opponent you have to deal with over here is Kairos Fate Weaver. And to put it bluntly, you have the better army than Kairos Fate Weaver. And that's before you count the local, regional effects that you can get if you put down a hidden Sanctum in a territory close enough to Kairos. You are unbreakable. Like, he will not win in a 1v1 fight. He can try, but he's just flat out not going to be able to beat you. And while Lizardmen have tons of issues, certainly, in their campaigns, like Oxyotl goes a long, long way towards making those issues feel, let's just say, rather inconsequential, I would dare argue. In a number of major ways during the course of a campaign. You can also teleport, like, you can only teleport with his army once a turn. But when you do but you can also teleport to a mission, and you can teleport back home. There's power, and then there's Oxyotl. Yeah, this guy is something else. And I think really there's other campaigns, or at least one other campaign, specifically Grombrindal, who should be really more similar, to this. Like, you do have a campaign area still to worry about. You do have a foe you're going to be fighting in this campaign for territory. That's undeniably, but you also got a lot of stuff. And to be fair, you don't necessarily need to go fight. You don't necessarily need to go fight Kairos if you don't want to. You can leave that particular job for Techless if that's your particular interest. Or you can just go up and beat him up. That's your decision, really, at the end of the day. Oh my, what a decision. Do I conquer one of the safest areas of the campaign map over here? I would say this campaign is a bit laggy just because you get so much vision of the campaign map. Yeah, let's just say those Hidden Sanctums are not doing great things for... the Silent Sanctums are not really doing great things for your performance, and those missions are kind of tanking the campaign performance in a way you might not see in other campaigns. But really, that's the only complaint you can have about this campaign. Well, and Lizardmen really needing some improvements in their campaign. Also, funnily enough, when you're thinking about Oxyotl, I just want to point something out here. There are various campaigns like Malice Darkblade, Barcersus that do start in the Cast Wasteland. Okay. They have Cast Wasteland attrition immunity, but only for their own personal army. Whereas Oxyotl, well, Oxyotl, let's just say, has the ability of having every single one of his armies in his campaign being immune to that attrition. That is the level of power Oxyotl does have in his campaign. It's not just that this army is immune to Cast Waste attrition. It's that all of his armies, all the armies, are immune to Cast Waste attrition. That's not a joke of a power, to be honest, when you're thinking about the Lizardmen, because it means you're not having to force march from settlement to settlement in the Cast Waste. You're not having to, or using camp stands to move around there, or else lose troops on the march. Like, this is actually one of the few campaigns in the game where you fight in the Cast Wasteland and it feels like it's properly designed for that. And that's saying a lot, because there are campaigns like Barcersus is not the complete misery in the Cast Wasteland. He can make it work. Malice Darkblade is pretty powerful, but I would say this is the best campaign, outside of the demon factions, of course, that actually handles quite well in the Cast Wasteland. And that's what makes, Oxyotl special, I would argue. Like, just so many things going right in this campaign that it's not even funny. It's not even funny. Like, you look at this situation, you think to yourself, damn, and this is turn 8. Many campaigns would be killing for the power that Oxyotl has here from the very, very beginning of his campaign situation. It's not even amusing to watch something like this occur. But yeah, Lizardmen do need an update. Oxyotl, however, is quite crazy, and I think he's really good to play. Questinium, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.